Those guys are sponsored by
Those guys. What's up?
What's going on? What's going on?
Nothing, man. Nothing at all. How are you today?
I'm good. It is hump day, the middle of the week. It is Wednesday evening.
Yes.
We're all here together. There's a couple of things to talk about tonight. We got a few things that's going to be a little different tonight, but we're here and we're live. How's everyone's hump day? How's everyone's Wednesday going? It's the middle of the week. I hope everyone's getting out there to fly, enjoying it.
It's not too hot. It's not too hot.
The heat has calmed down here on the Northeast a little bit. I know I've seen the weather. It's been hot in a few other places.
Yes.
But it's calmed down a lot here the last couple of days. How's everyone doing?
Dramatically, so bad that I flew twice yesterday. I flew FPV yesterday morning, and then I came back and got the camera drone and burned 2 batteries, just doing nothing. I was just glad to be outside. Hey, Fly Guy, what happened?
Are you in your chat, right?
I'm what?
In your chat, JC's flying. His what he's putting
he's
in.
Finally able. He says he's finally able to make comments on YouTube because remember he was having some problem with his computer. Hey Scott. Hey Florida Drone Flyers.
Okay, so I'm glad it's working for him now.
Yeah, hey, this is the actual test. He's testing out now. He's like, now I can comment on YouTube. Let's see how long it takes this time. Yes, we do. Let me go through the list real quick.
Wow.
Jody, Jackrabbit, one Visionary, JC, Jody, Drone Shots, South Florida Drones, Fly Guy Merrill, Big Matt, of course, is here. And Tony, Quadcopters and Tech, he's around but listening. Yeah, he's around but listening.
Yeah, I saw Tony earlier. Who else is here? It said it's 17
and
people.
SJM Jones, Johnny Drone Fly. I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah. I'm sorry, Steve was here earlier also. And Johnny Drone Flyer just came in. Welcome everyone to Hump Day.
Fly Guy Merrill,
too. Wednesday nights with those guys.
South Florida Drone Flyer. They're here.
Yeah, Matt, trust me, we know. We were baking these last few days too.
Oh yeah, it was cooking. It was cooking. Yeah. Well, you know, for a few of it, I was locked in here. You know,
we had 8 days, yo. 8 days, 90+ weather.
Well, a lot of it I was here because I was under the weather.
Who? Quite a few people are coming in. Well, that's actually good because you guys get here early.
Yeah, you know,
the format of the show tonight.
Well, yeah, we had a couple of things. Like I said, it's going to be a little different tonight. You know, we had a few things to talk about, and some of them everyone has been anticipating. Some of the things we're going to kind of clear up the understandings and basically get to know what's really happening, if we can even, you know, get to the bottom of some things tonight. What's going on in the drone community? You know,
hey, Corey.
Everyone's anticipating that remote ID. And
congratulations to YACL. That's my boy. He just got an Air 2S. He belongs to the Air 2S Army.
Oh, okay.
And I took him for his Virgin flight earlier this week, actually. Oh, that was Monday, I think. I was out there.
Congratulations.
Yes. So he wants to be he's in the drone community now. He took his first pictures. He did his first flights, his first maneuvers. He's supposed to go out in the morning and practice. And he wants to come out to Rockaway and get some shots.
Right. Okay.
I'll let you know when that happens.
Well, you know, like I was saying, tonight we got a few different things going on. We got something that actually something I wanted to share with everyone here. I don't know if you guys have been flying the Mini 3 Pro. Oh my God.
Go ahead. I'm going to go get my cup. This is going to be a good one. I can see your face.
You know, Big Matt, I know you like that drone. I know you love it. And I really like the drone too. But that gimbal guard is killing me, man. It is killing me. So when I went out and I found something like this.
Yes, check it out. They do make the frog face.
Now, I found this gimbal guard, and I got a couple of, coming on a slow boat that I want to share with you guys here on the on the channel. So when they come through, I'll share them with you guys. The guys that
touch the camera. Touch the camera. When you put the lens up, you went out of focus.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
So yeah, when they come in, I want to share them with you guys, and I'm gonna,
So you're saying when you get a couple of more in, you're gonna give away some Mini 3
gimbal guards. Yeah.
Show it again. Show it again real quick. Yes, the real gimbal guard.
So because honestly, if you love the one that's on there, so be it. I mean, you got patience. But that gimbal guard is terrible. That's
Big Man said I don't put it on. I just throw it in the case.
I thought about that so many times. and it's so funny because I struggle with it. So I'm like, I like the drone and
And Steven from the Flyby guys, we're representing you here.
It travels
he was one of the first I heard say something about it.
It's terrible, man. It's terrible, like gimbal guard. So I found that, and like I said, I'll share them with everyone else when they come in. But
hey JSK, what's good?
Also tonight at the end of the stream, I a couple weeks ago? Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was at Air Peaks presentation.
Yes.
And
the Sony Air Peaks, for those of you who don't know.
Sony Air Peaks. That's who does it, Sony. And they gave out a couple of things, and I'm gonna give it what they gave me away to someone here on the channel because I got a bunch of stuff I don't need it. I'm gonna share it with one of you guys on the chat. It's a hat.
Okay, Air Peak hat. I'd wear that. Oh, and a shirt.
And a t-shirt.
Okay.
So some lucky viewer will get the hat and the t-shirt. The end of the shirt.
Big Matt says the foam is supposed to go on behind the camera, then the gimbal guard does go on better. Camera doesn't move then.
The who?
It's the foam. I guess there's a foam that goes behind the camera that keeps the camera stationary, and then
I must have got the V1 version because mine don't have no foam.
Oh, Matt got the V2 version. That's what it is. The V2 foam.
Or they took the foam out for the V2 version because I don't remember mine having no foam in it.
Oh, see, Jody starting. Herman, what did you say? You're giving away a case?
What happened?
Jody said, what did you say, Herman? You're giving away a case?
Yeah, this one right here.
Oh, no.
The hat and the t-shirt.
Oh, Matt said he got the V3. Sorry. Had to correct that one. He got the V3 foam. V2 is already outdated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. But happy hump day, everyone. Yes. Welcome to Wednesday nights with those guys, and we appreciate you all ever so much.
You know what? I don't understand why the lumbar thing on this chair just keeps throwing me out the seat. I don't know what that's about.
Well, I'm doing a balancing act on this chair here. It's adjustable, but if I lean back, I swear it feels like it's gonna. JC, stop! He's already putting numbers in the chat.
Oh yeah, okay. Let him load up his number for later.
Okay.
But yeah, you know what?
Herman got like 20 cases. Leonard said.
There's drones in them.
Yeah, they're being used.
They're not catching dust.
This is true.
They smell good because they.
But talking about dust.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that Phantom, man.
Which one?
The Phantom 4.
The Phantom. Well, that's what I was getting to. So what I understand, DJI has released a new firmware update for the Phantom 4 multispectral.
Now, before you go on, could I say what I had mentioned I wanted to say before the stream?
Okay.
And I wanted to say a lot of you guys out there are Mavic flyers. You've only know the Mavic series. And I know that Phantom 4 seems like that old car on the block that don't get flown much, but the Phantom 4 6 going on to 7 years straight is still an industry standard. And now they just did this update. So
Well,
is it really all that old, Herman?
well, it's old. I mean, they came up with the multispectral one in 19.
Mm-hmm.
And this was after the drone came out in what, 16 or
Yeah.
so?
Oh, you got to enable sharing.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
Now, the drone, like I said, is the drone and the remote controller, the aircraft and the remote controller receives an update that and some software update that now it's going to be I guess operating on running on with the DJI GS Pro app on a version 2.0.17. Now the update for the aircraft and the controller is supposedly version 00.0.0.0159. But those are supposedly not really doing much to the aircraft except for with the software and the version of the Assistant 2 application for it.
Right.
Just that it's improving the overall stability of the aircraft, they claim, and it
Okay.
fixes a few of the bugs that was in it. You know, I don't know. They seem to have been finding bugs in all of their aircraft lately and fine tuning all of them.
Well, yeah, they claim that these adjustments on this camera here, I'm trying to bring up the spec. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Here it is. The adjustments that they did, they fine-tune these lenses because one lens sees in green, one sees in blue, one sees in red, then the other one sees our regular RGB, and then you have a red edge and an infrared lens. And they claim this combination together can see stuff in color spectrums that the human eye can't see, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, they fine-tune the specifically the individual colored ones, which allows it to see down to what they claim the centimeter. I'll let you guys watch the video, but they claim that when it zooms in now, it can actually focus on this stuff where it couldn't before, or it had an issue doing it.
Yeah, that's what I said. It cleared up a few bugs.
Yeah.
But it is an RTK drone, so
Yes. I don't know what the going price is for it. I will find out while you're doing the story.
no, it's expensive, but no,
Oh, I know it is. Oh, I know. It was expensive when it came out.
no, I'm just saying that's where you know, it's not. I mean, it's just not anybody here in the chat would have any need for the knowledge of the multispectral, but other than anyone who's here is into farming or any other agricultural business.
Yeah, specifically. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking here and
Hey, Tommy G.
look at this, starting at 6,500. 6,500. It did now the old Phantom they're still asking 3 for that. But this is an RTK version, like you said, and it's mostly for agricultural. Now you do line inspection, some mast inspections with it also because of the multi-spectrum, but it's basically designed for agricultural.
It's good for reading vegetation.
Yes. Yeah. And the app that it comes with, You were going to mention that in the story too, right?
Yeah,
That
I did mention it.
Oh, you did. Okay, the GS map that it uses.
Yeah, they improved that.
Yeah. So, hmm, interesting.
We improved
Interesting.
everything on the software with
It's
it.
good to see. It's good to see the Phantom still being used. I mean, oh, and of course it's a V2.
Well, I mean,
The OS.
everyone is a lot of guys are still using them.
Yeah, but see
Especially if
what
they're
Big Matt
doing
put. I guess they're going through their existing selling drones and tweaking their software, which is smart. As your
right.
company advance, you go to your older models and say, "Hey, it's
Well,
still selling."
what
Hey,
I think
James.
is happening is that they're trying to get rid of the Lightbridge series altogether
Yes. Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
keep the stuff that's on the OcuSync 2 and forward going for a while. Because that was what got all the updates. Everything that's on OcuSync 2 and forward. So now what I'm understanding, Lawrence, that and I'm quite sure everyone knows by now because the story on the news shocked the whole world the other day with the story that what is that? The DJI Avata is no longer a rumor, that it's actually has shown up on the FCC database.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes, she has.
yeah, it has. So, I guess what they claim here is that you know,
Oh, sorry, this is the
my
clip for the goggles.
to my understanding that you know, this yeah, well, we all know this, that they have to go through whatever
Here we go.
testing and things that they have to go through before they meet the standards of the
Hmm.
the Federal Communication Commission, here with the United States laws before
Yeah,
they
F's.
seal. So they got their seal, they got their number.
Yep, they right here. SS3QF2W4K22 FCC ID number, which allows them to, which means a lot of you don't know this, but maybe you do, which actually means that DJI, this Avata,
Mhm.
operates within the frequency range allocated by the FCC to fly a drone or unmanned aircraft.
Yeah.
So it
So,
fits, yeah, yeah, something to that effect. And it also, you didn't mention the battery.
well, I didn't. I mean, I kind of
I'm
didn't.
sorry, I'm like
Kind of
mad
didn't get
rushing
to those
because
things.
I'm hyped about it. I
Yeah,
want to see.
I kind of see that. I mean, you are kind of hyped about it. No, what I was saying, what was interesting about it is that one of the points that we wanted to mention, since Lawrence mentioned it already, was the battery. So we're
Uh-huh.
talking about what, a 2,420 milliamp hour battery.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Which is
the
a four
current,
cell,
huh?
which is a four cell.
But the current battery, right? That
Yeah.
claims to be 2,000 milliamp hours and claims to get 20
Hey,
minutes.
Maddie.
You understand what I'm saying? Too claims to get about
Yes.
20 minutes. Now, I never flown
Yes.
the drone. I don't know what it gets, and I don't know how they test this, but I don't know what that would equivalent out to, in the exchange on what you would get a little extra if you
Mm-hmm.
actually flew this thing. Now, I don't know if anybody in the chat's got one. If they fly this thing regular, like I'm not talking about like a camera drone, I'm talking about like an FPV drone. Are you getting 20 minutes on the battery? Because
Yeah, if
that's
you guys out there who have John, JC's flying, how much time do you get on that FPV, DJI FPV bird?
I mean,
Because John's been flying his heavy. They say 20 minutes means 12. Technically, yeah. Depending on how aggressive you are, you're right. You're right, Matt. Because I have a battery, I have a LiPo battery that promises long range to get me 10 to 11 minutes.
Well, let me ask you.
I usually get about 8 or 9 minutes out of that.
Well,
and that's cruising.
Well, let me ask you this, Lawrence. You have what, 4 cell?
4S batteries, yes, correct.
Yeah, how long are you getting on those?
I'm only cruising, I'm only getting anywhere from 4 to about 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes. 3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes.
Yes. 3 to 5 minutes. Yes.
You might want to try to adapt some of these DJI batteries to your drones because they
yeah, I know.
You get 20
right?
minutes on these.
Where's drone worship? Wait a minute. Where's drone worship when you need them?
Oh, they figured out something that nobody else.
He did a modification. Hey, Tammy Jean. He did a modification to the 3DR Solo batteries.
Yeah.
So they had got more time or something. And I need to hit up drone worship and see if he could adapt one of these batteries to FPV. He'd make a killing and we'd be able to fly as long as you guys are. 20 minutes, man, FPV? Woo! But FPV pilots would probably burn their motors out. They'd get so hot.
You'd have to especially that heavy ass battery though.
The flippy flip guys?
Yeah.
The ones that flippy flip? Is that's a lot of power going through those motors.
You have to carry that heavy old battery.
In sports mode, 60 miles per hour. He got 7 minutes. DJI FPV, Jim's droning.
How much?
Okay, at 60 miles per hour in sports mode, he only got 7 minutes. So he's getting about the same amount of time I'm getting on a 6S.
Okay, yeah.
Because now on a 6S battery, I can get anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes flight.
So
because
now,
I didn't flippy flip. I
now the shoes on the other foot.
Yeah. Now who's talking?
Guys is getting beat on them batteries.
And how much are those DJI batteries, guys?
I don't know, like 100 million.
Oh, see, I don't even have to ask because I have the internet.
No, I'm just saying to you. I just was wondering.
Hold on, I know because price-wise, if they're getting, like he just said, at 60 miles an hour, I fly 40 to 63 miles per hour regularly, and I get 6 to 8, 7 minutes, maybe 8. Okay, I want to see how much DJI.
His numbers is going up from 5 minutes. Wait a minute.
Battery price.
That said $150.
Wow. Yep, $160 from DJI.
Well,
yeah.
How much you paying for them?
And what do I pay for my batteries, my lipos?
Yeah.
Depending on where you get them, like China Hobby Line, I could get 2 6S batteries for about $45, $50, $60.
Okay.
It depends.
Now the flow is swinging sort of back towards DJI because of one thing. It kind of went your favor in the price.
Yeah.
But in the quality of the battery and without having to worry about burning your house down, the whole shift in the weight goes back over to DJI. For $100 more, I would rather not burn my house down.
Touche. You're right in that aspect because DJI, I haven't heard DJI batteries exploding on impact yet. We haven't seen it yet. Because I've seen some FPV birds crash and the battery just start fizzing. And once you see smoke, then once oxygen hits those LiPo batteries, it's a fireball. And it's not going to stop burning until that thing is burnt out.
Well, see, let's talk about this now. There's supposedly 2 sets of goggles for this thing?
Yes. There are 2 sets of goggles and they did specify what the differences were between them.
Well,
which is funny because go ahead.
What was the models? We had what was the RCDS 18? You have
the first model here, the RCDS 18, correct. Now that one specifically goes by itself, standalone.
Okay.
Go standalone from what I was reading.
You can get that and use with all of your older systems and everything as well? I don't know.
Well, I don't know because they came out with a new operating system also. Now, this one here, which I'm also amped about, is the RCD S118B.
Right.
Don't quote me, but I think the B actually goes with the Avata. I could be wrong. This one could be by itself and the other one could be But that's the only difference. They're both the same set of goggles, except one is going to come in a bundle package.
You think so?
Yeah. They said one of these models is going to come with the bundle package with the Avata that they're going to sell. They did say that in the story that I read. So that's why I was a little amped about it, because you remember you were saying they didn't say there was any difference or pertaining
in the
to
difference in like this one is, are they the same goggle or is there something different
They're the
about
exact same, except
Right.
one pair will go in a bundle pack and one pair won't. And I believe this one here, which is the original, let me bring it back up, which is the original DJI 2 goggle,
Right.
RCD S18. So that's that should be the individual one by itself. And
Okay.
then this one here
The
should
B
be
is
the
the one
one
that
that's
comes in the
bundled. The
bundle.
B should be bundled with.
I got you.
Well, I'm assuming the B is bundled, but I don't speak Chinese, so the B could be a Y. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion. Okay, let me put it this way, the disclaimer. The views and opinions heard tonight are not necessarily the views and opinions of everyone on the panel and or in the chat. But if you're talking about this, you might as well go on to the next photo too.
Well, this photo is
It's right, the unit, the air unit.
yeah. Well, it's gonna come with the what is it? An air unit.
I told you I'm amped, man, about all this new stuff, because that means the price of the V2 shit is going to go down. That's all I care about.
Well, is it gonna work?
And I don't care if it works with the new shit. I don't care about that. The price of the V2 goggles and the Cadex units and the Air units. Here we have the Air 3 unit, and we already know the Air 3 unit is going to be working on a slightly different system. Now, will the goggles be able to fly the new Air 3 unit and the old stuff? More than likely. But will you be able to fly it with the V2 goggles? You won't be able to fly it with the V2 goggles, guys.
No.
Unless they do some kind of update. And that would be a waste of coming out with new goggles.
With new goggles. No, that's
I'm
not
done.
happening.
The hype is over. I'm
About
done.
that.
I'm back to normal.
But let me ask you this. Are you getting one?
Am I getting them? Hell
Yeah.
no. Because when all these guys drop and start selling their V2 goggles and shit like that, and all their Cadex units to get this new shit, I'll be racking up on the V2 stuff.
Well, but here's what I found funny, because
Hey, Fly Zone, what's good?
excuse me, this thing still got this cough, man. They kind of kept mentioning this thing like as an indoor drone. Indoor drone.
Yeah.
Now, is this drone, you think, specific?
Hold on. I didn't bring up the pictures of the Avata, because we can run with this for a minute, because I want to point out something. Just like the DJI FPV bird, this bird will have auto landing and auto takeoff. And here's the proof right here, because you have sonic sensors for landing, and then you have this infrared also. So this thing will take off like the DJI FPV bird and hover, and then you can maybe switch it to SIN mode or whatever, but it will have auto landing and auto takeoff, which leads me to believe that from what I see in the pictures here, I cannot see any forward moving sensors. So that may be an issue to some. But when you fly FPV, that's what you risk. Oh, those were the goggles. But you were talking about the goggles there, and this picture are the V3 goggles. I like them. Wait, I clicked away from it. My bad. I like them. They're sleeker, because the original V2 and the V1 goggles are top heavy. So they've slimlined and they've got rid of a lot of plastic. What I don't like personally are these flip antennas, because these antennas are going to flip up and down. And anything that has moving parts, can be broken. If you put it in your bag the wrong way, I'm sorry, I can't see the chat right now, but if you put it in your bag the wrong way, there's a very strong possibility you could probably break one of these antennas. Now, these are omnidirectional. Are they going to give us the option to take this front plate off, Herman?
I don't know.
Because we can take the front plate off on the V2s and the V1s and put patch antennas here for long distance, which is actually what I did for my goggles. But, okay, all the hype-nitis is over. I'm done.
I got to...
Steven, the flyby guys, you need to show Steven that gimbal.
Yeah, hold on just a second. I want to do something. I got to take care of something real quick.
Okay, go for it.
And I got to...
You're right, Big Matt. One-shot drone. Hey, Steven, what's good, man? Herman found a solution to that shitty gimbal for the Mini 3. Let's give him a minute. He's manipulating the computer. I guess, bringing in our guest host.
Well, I'm trying to... because I'm having
They have internal and external. So you're saying that they already have the patch antenna. Fly Zone Drones, Mike from Chicago, saying that they have an internal and external antennas on those goggles. So that means that in that area, they already have patch antennas built in. That would be good. Oh, here you go, Steven, right here. You got the frog cover, man. Check it out, Steven.
Right over.
Yes.
It slides right over. It don't have to sit still. You can just slide it right over. It fits.
And problem solved.
Yeah. And it clips right onto the same little spot in the bottom where the other one does.
Well, that's it.
So I'm just waiting on Ryan now to come in.
It says in the FCC filing that 2 of the antennas are internal. I need to look at those pictures. Hold on, let's go back here.
Oh, you got it. I sent you the link on it for the page.
Huh?
I sent you the link for the page that shows the whole filing.
Oh yes, I do have that. The filing is here. I'm duh. I did not. Of course, that was the only thing I didn't load, right?
I don't know, did you? But I'm interested. Anybody? How long? You guys out there gonna get one of these? I mean,
yeah. Who's gonna be the first out there to do it?
The way they talk about it, it's an indoor drone. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's one and done. One crash.
You think?
One and done.
It's ducted.
Here's the FCC. Oh, I did have it loaded. Shit. I'm sorry, my bad. Sorry for cursing. I did have it loaded. It's right here. The actual FCC filing. Now it says, oh, you're talking about this right here, Herman, right? On screen? The FCC.
Where are you looking at? Is that it? That's part of it.
This is part of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I just have this here. Here's the FCC ID number. I don't see anything about the antenna patches. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong information.
My bad.
About the goggles.
Well, right now we got a gentleman coming into the stream.
Let's get Ryan on.
He's no stranger to the community. You know, he's no stranger to the channel. He's been here with us a few times. You know, and he's everyone in the community's best friend, Mr. Ryan Latourette. And Ryan, you got your muted.
Hold on, his mic is muted.
We'll take care of that. How you doing?
And how are you? How are you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. How you been?
Not too shabby. It's summer.
Yeah, it's been hot here.
It's been hot here too. Still flying weather.
Yeah, it is.
This is true.
I was under
better than freezing the fingers off.
I'm glad you recovered your account, Ryan. I'm glad you recovered your account because when I don't know what, that was a little crazy. I'm like, Ryan just sent me something. Now I know you wouldn't contact me just like that and say,
Right.
hey, bud, how you doing? I'm like, that Ryan doesn't talk like that. And then
No.
they go on to say, they went on to say, did you hear the news about the lawyers?
Uh,
And I was like, no. I thought it was something dramatic, and then it says, well,
Cool,
it
big.
if you click on this link, you can find out everything about what the lawyers are doing in the drone community. Wait a minute, that's not Brian.
nope.
And I immediately flagged it, and I sent you texts. I hit you on Facebook, dude. Every possible contact, and I sent you a text to the phone because I have your phone
Right.
number.
Yep.
And I was like, I hope he's on it. I hope he's on it. But I'm glad you're here, man, and I'm glad you recovered your account.
It's
Cool,
all
big. What's
good.
going
All
on?
good.
Hey,
So,
what's up, everybody?
so Ryan, I was just saying that you're no stranger to the channel. You've been here with us a few times. You were here about 3 or 4 times
Three
now,
or four
right?
times at
Yeah,
least.
like
Yeah.
we were here talking about the gentleman in Louisiana with his case. Once upon a time, and that
Long time ago.
yeah, and we talked about the case in Michigan a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Ryan, tell for those in the chat probably who never spoke to you, never seen you, but know what you do. Let everyone in the chat know what it is that you do in the
To give
community.
you a rundown. Yeah. So
Yeah.
one, I am the director of regulatory affairs for the Great Lakes Drone Company. The Great Lakes Drone Company does drone light shows across the United States and operates. They've operated around the world, in fact. And whenever you're doing that, you've got to make sure that you have all your legal ducks in a row. So I get to play some of that and try to figure out what's right and what's wrong according to the regulations. And then probably the bigger piece out of that is that I like to take my time and make sure that we're advocating for the drone community. And so I do that through the legal channels. I look at, dozens upon dozens of drone cases that are popping up across the nation. Folks that'll reach out to me that they're in trouble, or folks that know of somebody, and so I'll reach out to them and say, hey, can I help with this situation? Specifically, I'm very deeply involved in preemption clauses at the state level. So 17 states across the United States have a preemption law that disallows local governments from creating or enforcing drone ordinances. And we want to make sure that those state laws are abided by those local governments. And in a lot of cases, they're not. And so we need to take an opportunity to remind those local governments that they are doing something illegal when they create an ordinance, and help out those people who may have been ticketed as a result of an illegal ordinance. So I get to play an awful lot of advocacy in those areas.
Right.
Well,
Well,
we
I
want
mean,
to thank you for doing that work specifically. I mean, you guys, if you don't know who this gentleman is, you need to find the hell out, because we're trying to get him to come to New York so we can represent the rest of the drone community around the United States.
We
You
are
know,
getting close. We have our first case in New York, huh?
yeah. Well,
well,
you know what? I just wanted to ask you about that
yes,
because
yes, yes.
the
We wanted to
the
know about it
Fred
because
Hamilton case that was going on. Where is this? If that's not the same case that you're
That
doing,
is the same one.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanted to know. The last time you were here, I'll tell you, we were talking about that, and where is that right now with that
Yeah.
case?
So, just a quick reminder, what happened was there's
Mhm.
an individual in New York flying recreationally, was near Fort Hamilton, taking some video of one of the bridges there, and had the drone cross over the path of the Fort Hamilton property. As she was doing so, the drone became completely disabled from her controller, ended up falling down, or well, landing appropriately, but landing in a tree and then crashing to the ground. And she went and pursued that drone to see if she could get it, and they let her onto the base, brought her into interrogation, ended up writing her a ticket, that was a nondescript ticket, in fact. And then they kept her drone. They told her that she would be charged, and that was more than a year ago. So when I got word of it, I said, well, let's see what we can do. And so we put forward a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, to try to get all the records from Fort Hamilton. Now, what that allows us to do is really to hone in on exactly what their thought philosophy is about that drone. You know, did they take any other actions besides issuing a ticket? Where is that drone now? What kind of write-ups did they do for other agencies to defend their actions? What we have at this point is that they have passed the buck after passing the buck after passing the buck. The FOIA request was made back in April. With any FOIA request, the federal government says that they have 20 business days to respond. I'm sorry, 10 business days to respond and 20 in order to get it to you. So literally they have a month to really give you all those records. Well, again, that was made back in April. I wrote them again yesterday to say, I'm still waiting, guys. You guys show me what you got. So they are in violation of federal law at this point, and we're going to kind of pursue that until it's in our hands. And then once we do get the records, we have some different options, right? The first option is we can sue the federal government for breach of the FOIA Act, but we can also sue the Fort Hamilton base to basically say that they have converted the drone, that they took possession of that drone illegally, right? They did not return that drone, and by doing so, they've converted it to their own property. And by law, if that conversion takes place, then they have to replace that thing with the equivalent retail value of the value at the time that they converted it. So that would mean before the crash, right? So now instead of giving her back a crashed drone, here's a brand new drone. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, I'd like to say first, I appreciate you not mentioning any names.
Yep, I won't do that.
We can stay plutonic on that aspect. But a lot of you may not have known this case was going on in New York, and we did mention it a while back on one of those guys' episodes, and we just wanted to know what was going on with that. And there's one other case that you were mentioning before, the last time you spoke with us, that you were going through.
Well, yeah, so there's another case, you know, I always said that when we talk about New York, we have to go through New Jersey, right?
Yes.
And so we just got that case in New Jersey within the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so. And what it is an individual was flying at MetLife Stadium, which I guess is where the New York Giants play, right? Even though it's New Jersey. Okay, New York plays there. But the security came out. They said, you can't fly drones here. We're going to issue a ticket. And so they did. Now, the challenge is New Jersey actually has statewide preemption. They have a law that says local governments cannot create or enforce their own ordinances. So here's East Rutherford saying, oh, you can't fly here. Oops, wrong answer. You can fly here. So what they did is they kind of melded the idea of, oh, the FAA has a TFR against the stadium. Well, yeah, but only during game days and only during a certain window. And this was completely empty stadium during the summer when there's no event going on. So there was no stadium TFR in effect. They wrote the ticket with the idea that they would get this local drone ordinance in place. And so we've reached out to that individual, provided him with a motion to dismiss, and they've now rescheduled the hearing for later next month. So we're going to have a final decision then.
All right, so they're going to get to the bottom of that one.
You bet.
These are local, you know, they always come up with these ideas that they can do this and they can do that. Now, the problem, what they'll do now after this is just lock up the parking lots.
That's what I was meaning.
So you can't drive in anymore.
Yeah, and that's a concern for them, right? Because if you're going to lock things up and say, oh yeah, we're going to just shut things down here, well, we've got remote ID that is going to come. Now it's probably going to be late. And once that comes out, the FAA is going to allow beyond line of sight flight. So at that point, suddenly I can stand 2.5 miles away and I'm up over your stadium, and it doesn't matter. I'm skipping your rules because I'm outside your jurisdiction anyway.
Well, Ryan, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to bring that up next, because that is the big dog, and that everyone is so patiently waiting. Oh, they're so anticipating it, like it's the pancake ceremony, pancakes in the morning. The remote ID, where is it right now? Like especially with the lawsuit and everything going on. Where is it? Because there's a few things that a lot of people are really, really concerned about, and one in particular.
Yeah. So first and foremost, think about remote ID in terms of what it was supposed to have happen, right? We know that the final rule was suggesting that September of 2023, next year, would be the date in which remote ID would actually fully go live.
Right.
But inside of that, there was also a September 2022 date. And that September 2022 date, fast approaching now, is when model aircraft operators or drone operators, model aircraft or drone manufacturers would have to start producing drones with remote ID capabilities. Now, that's fine and dandy, except there's one big problem. The remote ID capabilities, in terms of the protocols that would have to be broadcast, have not been finalized. So what we have is a situation where you're telling manufacturers, I need you to produce this module on every single drone that you're creating, but I'm not going to tell you what you need in order to create that module.
So you're saying there's no, right now, from what you're saying, basically there's no standardized module that anyone can use as a model and or use in an actual drone.
It's all the protocols. So you think about your remote ID signal is going to have to broadcast certain things, right? Yes. And those protocols, what it's supposed to be broadcast, have not yet been finalized. So if you're going to tell, it's almost like you're telling General Motors, I'm going to require you to build a truck that has this particular part in it, but I'm not going to tell you the part size. I'm not going to tell you how this part works, how it's going to fit in, where it has to fit in, but you have to have it done 2 months from now. Well, GM's going to laugh at you, right?
Right.
So that's the same thing. Is that at this point we don't have the protocols. Every manufacturer's going, I can't satisfy that requirement. And by the way, if you give it to me tomorrow, I'm still probably not going to get it on my assembly line for 3-4 months, because I have to have that leeway, that lead time. So we automatically know that September date is likely to push. And if you push the September 22 date, well, now you're looking at September 23. You don't have a year's time. You're going to have to push that as well.
Well, if you remember, Ryan, when they had mentioned at the symposium that they were introducing Lance to the United States, and we're going to initiate it at this starting time, and the main problem was no one took it on until Aloft or AirMap or whoever it was decided to use it first. And now I remember hearing pilots, FPV pilots, drone pilots, oh, I'm not going to conform. They're not going to tell me I can fly 200 feet. They're not going to tell me how high I can go and how far and stuff like that. Everyone, look how successful Lance is. Look how it's been accepted. So if you build it, they will buy it and it will come.
Yeah. I think the challenge, there's two challenges, right? The first is that the FAA is notorious on missing dates. So even if you look at Part 107, right? Part 107 was actually talked about in the 2012 FMRA from Congress. Congress had stated, you will provide some type of rules within a year. Oops, we missed that date, right? so, we were expecting that, but at the same token, we have this big lawsuit that's going on, and that's the RDQ, or race day quads, versus the FAA.
Right.
And that lawsuit basically takes on remote ID and says, hey, Mr. FAA, you cannot do this because it's unconstitutional. One, you're doing tracking of our individuals on legal flights without any type of warrant. You are not including things like shielded operations. There's, a homeowner, as a homeowner, I should be able to fly in my backyard. Well, you got me in a zero grid. I can't fly in my backyard, but you're going to allow somebody, whether it's a, general public or a police officer, to be able to spot and locate me in my background, right?
Just want to interrupt really quick, because this is a good question. It's kind of diverse on the subject, but you did mention this earlier. JSK in the chat wants to know, I'm curious about this. Can towns get around all this and create an ordinance saying you can't take off of land from any public property in that town? And we've answered this, but if you could answer that, please.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's a really good question. So the answer is yes, and the answer is no. So the first part is, if you are in a state that has preemption, and Michigan is one of those, where it says specifically in MCL 259.305, it literally says a political subdivision, which means a local government, cannot create or enforce their own drone ordinance. So in that case, what you're saying to the local government, doesn't matter whether it's flight, landing, launching, operating from, you have no controls to create or enforce an ordinance of that nature. Now, if you're outside one of those 17 states, granted, there's 33 states, so a majority of states in the United States can create an ordinance that says you cannot launch here, you cannot land here, you cannot operate from here. But what we're telling those states right now is we're saying those are great, fine and dandy things, but beyond line of sight is coming. So pretty soon I'm going to be able to step outside of your town. I'll be, 2 miles away, but I can fly over. And when you start to say, hey, you can't do that, we don't allow flight. Oops, sole jurisdiction of airspace is with the FAA. So your ordinance, not so much.
So, one of the things I wanted to ask you, the biggest thing that a lot of guys have been complaining about it, and and I brought this up when I saw the initial proposal when they came out with this one over a year or so ago, and we read through a little bit of it and put it down, and we read some more of it, and when I finally got through listening to all the talk from everywhere and hearing everything and seeing it, and then the argument went back and forth that they were or they're not, they were, they are, yeah, they are, they're not, they are, they're not, they are, they're not. The pilot's location and stuff like that, the information on that, lines of longitude and latitude information. I think that's another thing that a lot of guys are worried about, and like, where would that be? From what I'm hearing, that they're gonna try not to, but when I do know that it's supposed to be there.
Well, yeah, so the FAA made some very ambiguous language, which they're very good at doing, by the way. And the interest was to be able to put forward the location of both the operator and the drone in flight. So you would be able to track, hey, I see the drone here in the sky. I can figure out from that where the operator is here down below, right? And they could be a mile apart, they could be half a mile apart, whatever. But be able to pinpoint that particular operator as to where they're standing. That became an interest, right, as to who would have that capability. Is it just going to be the police, right? So that they could determine, hey, is this a nefarious operation or not? Or is this going to be anybody in the general public? The FAA, again, they left it fairly ambiguous. I think right now what they're looking at is the police would have that information. versus the general public would be able to,
Right.
use a phone and spot the drone and say,
Right.
hey, this is a drone that is registered. This is a drone that, has airspace authorization for controlled airspace, be able to show at least some legitimacy to it.
Right.
And then they would have to call the police if there wasn't, right? But that ambiguous language in there was also allowing that maybe at some point in the future, there would be an availability for individuals to be able to say, oh, I'm going to go be able to spot that person on the ground. And that became a real issue for drone operators because, my gosh, how many Karens do we have to go through? We've already been through this time and time again, where if they spot you, they're coming up to you. Well, now they don't even spot you, they spot the drone and can chase you down. That becomes a huge problem.
Well, I mean, I'm just curious to know how many people would go through that. I mean, we live here in the city, and we'll take off from places that have people passing, parks and stuff like that, areas where people are passing, and some people stop and they watch, and other people are just on the go. And I'm like, how many people would actually chase you down to figure out who that is?
Yeah, I think, for the most part, the majority of people have either at this point gone, oh, it's just a drone. I've seen them all over the place. And you still have a very few that'll go, hey, that's neat, I want to find more about it. The folks that we're really concerned with are those blowhards that I'm going to shoot it out of the sky, right? And at some point, we know an operator is going to get shot, just plain and simple. That these guys are irrational about shooting a drone out of the sky. What is causing them from not shooting the operator? That's a real concern I have, and unfortunately, it's a real concern that the FAA doesn't have, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's an issue. I mean, I don't fly in those places, hopefully. I mean, here in New York, you would figure that could happen at any time, but
yeah, I have been approached by folks that, have said, I got a gun in the car, I'm going to shoot that thing out of the sky. And, I'll be able to quickly rattle 18 USC 32. I'll visit you in prison with my retribution check, because you're going to pay for my drone too.
Put $5 on his commissary.
Yeah. Buy yourself some SIGs. Thanks for the new drone.
Ryan, it's funny because maybe about a month ago, I ran into a Karen, right? And during the incident, these particular police officers that were there, I was flying in a place legally, and often they pull up to see what I'm doing, standing there, so they saw I was flying a drone. I did do a flyby. The Karen shows up. Make a long story short, one of the officers told me during the Karen incident that he was looking and searching online and in his book for a rule that says I could not fly my drone. And after the event, and his partner told Karen to go on her way, the dude's perfectly legal, leave him the hell alone. He came to me and he says, I cannot find any law anywhere that says that I could stop you or give you a ticket for flying. Yep. And I said, if I had recorded that and just played, I just wish I had the camera going at the time to hear that, because a lot of people don't know that. I've seen people, officers, Parks Department people, State Department people look in books, and if it's not on their land, they can't do anything about it. Now, he was a police officer on the beach. He told the Karen, I can't do anything about it. If you have any complaints, contact the Parks Department, because the Parks Department are the only ones that can tell me that I can fly there or not. And I'm friends with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they will never put that sign up that says that.
Right, exactly, exactly.
I can share with you my favorite experience, right? I fly down at the Michigan State Capitol quite often, and I've trained the Michigan State police on drones to let them know, hey, what's legal, what's not around the Michigan State Capitol. So one night I'm out there flying, and the Lansing City Police, their station is directly across the street from the Capitol building. Out comes a rookie cop, sees the drone in the sky and says, "Get that thing down now." And so I kind of roll my eyes and I'm like, under whose direction and authority? Well, that pissed him off. So he comes running over and he's still claiming, "Get that thing down now." And I said, "I'll bring it down. We can talk about it." So I'm bringing it down now. At this point, I'm flying an Inspire, right? So I want some room because that thing, I don't want you anywhere close when that thing comes down. Well, I tell him, "You need to get back at least 25 feet so I can bring that down." Well, that made him even more angry. So he said, I'm calling Michigan State Police." I said, "You do that." So he got on the horn. He called the Michigan State Police. And it was probably no more than 30 seconds later, we see the Michigan State Police car coming down the wrong way on the one-way street in front of the Capitol building. Just, full engine, comes screeching to a halt. And this officer says, "You're in trouble now." I roll my eyes. The MSP officer jumps out of the vehicle and says, "Ryan, I haven't seen you in a long time. Do I get to fly tonight?" And I laugh, and I get to stand there and listen to my student, the MSP guy, turn and educate this rookie Lansing police officer on what you can and can't do with the drone. I felt great.
Well, you know what? It's good, and that's why I try my best. Everyone in law enforcement, anyone who's interested, who looks my way, I see people looking. They're like, "What am I doing?" I'm like, "Come on over. Look what I'm doing." And I've made a lot of friends with police officers, the Department of Parks, and the day that Karen, he told her, he said, "If you have a complaint, complain to the Parks Department." She rode off on a bike like the evil witch of the West. And the Parks Department came maybe about 2 batteries in. I was flying FPV, so that's not long. And the lady comes and the cop says, "They're coming." I went maybe about 6 to 10 blocks down the beach. And I'm like, "Parks Department's coming." He's like, "You can see him." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. There's 4 of them on an ATV." Then one was a supervisor with the white shirt on, and the other 3 have the green shirt, New York City Parks Department. And he says, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, the only thing that they can do is tell me I cannot fly from here, because it is summer season, and legally in New York, you cannot fly in, you're not supposed to fly on the beach unless for hire from Memorial Day to Labor Day." Okay, and I said that to him and everything, and the supervisor came up. One of the Parks Department guys, right, I'll make it really quick so you can get back to what you're talking about, but one of the Parks Department guys I know, and he was like, "Don't say you know me. Don't say you know me." He's like trying to act like he didn't know me. And the supervisor's like, "Sir, you can't fly here." And I'm like, "Well, I do know that, but it's a summer. I know it's summer. You can't fly from Memorial Day to Labor Day. But this part of the beach is under the construction and no one's on the beach. It's a cloudy day. But I just finished flying, so I'm packing up now. And I do know she goes on to say, "Well, they've been stealing bird eggs along the beach." I said, "I know about that. I have the supervisor's number. He tells me if I see anyone in the restricted areas with my drone to call him directly so they can call the police or whoever." And she goes, "Oh, you do know him?" And I'm like, "Yes." And the guy in the back is like, "Oh, please don't look at me. Don't look at me. I know you know me, but don't say you know me." And I was like, "All right, I'm cool." But I just finished flying. These officers, we had an incident with a Karen, and I'm actually leaving now. And the 2 cops was like, "Yo, you handled that so well." She said, "All right, fine, have a good day." And when they left, he was like, "Wow, everything that you said they were going to do, they did."
Yep.
But and it's all about knowing, right?
Yep.
That's the point I'm getting to.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's something that every operator needs to do is, brush up on things and be expecting of that interaction with the police officer. Know that, if you have your stuff in order, they are interested because they don't yet have that education. And so if you can give it to them, the better.
These 2 police officers, I know most of them, okay, that patrol that area. And when Karen walked up, I yelled, "Officer, keep Karen away from me until I land." And he told her, lady, let the man land. I came in and I did land, and I nicely walked over to the office, said, look, I'm a professional drone pilot. I have my 107. I've been flying on this beach for 6 years. The breeding area that she's complaining about, because she said I was scaring all the birds. I said, we were on beach 20th. I said, starts on beach 29th Street. He says, yeah, I know that because they've been stealing eggs, etc. And if it wasn't for having that knowledge, it might have turned out different.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, well, Ryan, we were talking about the whole remote ID thing, and I was going to ask you this because, in my opinion, when looking at the proposal, it was written up, and you talk about there is no, module, there is nothing yet.
Yeah.
So when they came up with the way they wrote it, from like, especially with the guys, especially to the guys that fly FPV, the complexity of what this wording and this whole thing about what they will be responsible for, the guys who build, as opposed to buy off the shelf and fly. They had to expect some kind of pushback with this.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
I mean, how would you get something like this done?
Yeah, so that was part of the idea of this the RDQ versus FAA. So race day quads, really put forward the idea, especially in that manufacturing. Hey, wait a minute, what you're doing is you are eliminating the ability to build and create our own model aircraft. You've taken away all this creativity in developing the next new big thing that could be another industry entirely for the United States or for the world, for that matter. And then at the same token, they were saying, by making any type of requirement that you have a module, right, that adds weight. That's going to decrease our ability to operate, right? So we're going to have to put on bigger batteries. We're going to have,
stronger motors,
different center of gravity, right?
Yeah.
And so that changes a lot of things for a racing quad. It slows them down, makes it harder to maneuver.
To be honest, Ryan, not really, because we started using these DJI Air units and putting them into FPV birds, and the CADX units. They were talking about center of gravity and all of that, and we're working out fine. So to add another piece, now keep in mind, they have a module the size of my thumbnail. That's a receiver that transmits up to 500 watts and can go 2-3 miles. You can put that RFID technology on that same thumb-sized chip. So it's not all that bad. It's just another part you would have to add to an FPV bird. Now, it's the manufacturers who say whether it's going to be 2 inches wide and what it comes down to. But technology-wise, everything should be able to adapt to it.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm glad you said it, because I was saying by the time this gets off the ground, it could just be a strip of tape.
Yes.
Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea of the lawsuit, right, though, is to say, look, we don't even know, right? You have not provided any of the details, and yet you're making it a requirement. Well, how can you make it a requirement without those details? That's very key. I think the other piece that, race day quads went after, and this one's a real concern, is that they said, look, why can't I fly in my backyard? I'm in a shielded operation. I'm flying below my treetops, right?
Yes.
There's, okay, I'm in a 0-foot grid, but hey, this is my property. You're encroaching upon my property. Now, if they win that argument, I want you to think about this. No longer does the FAA have control over every bit of airspace from the ground up, right? So right now they say anything after the first blade of grass is FAA airspace, sole jurisdiction. So if they lose that, right, suddenly you have every single locality going, aha, your backyard now becomes my airspace jurisdiction. And that becomes a more interesting aspect in terms of this patchwork quilt of regulation. So suddenly we would have all these, localities stepping up and saying, you can't fly in our city area.
Mhm.
Well, that becomes a real problem. And that's one of those reasons that I'm advocating that we have to have these, state preemptive laws, because if this comes down, the decision comes the way that I think it might, then what happens is the states that have preemption are going to be able to say, hey, we still don't have this patchwork of regulation. We aren't going to allow these local governments to stand it up. Whereas you have the other 33 states, all these little communities are going to be like, hey, we now own some jurisdiction here. We're going to create a law to enforce that jurisdiction. That's a
Right.
real problem.
So it's a win-win, lose-lose situation.
Yeah. The other piece to think about, the FAA case with race day quads has yet to be decided. It's been heard, right? So we're waiting on that decision. And if you think about this idea that the FAA had to come up with those protocols in order to get this September date, they've been dragging their heels. You have to believe that the FAA is very concerned that they are going to lose this RDQ case, right? And so start really contemplating what that means. If they lose, what has been stricken from the remote ID? Is it going to be partial? Is it going to be overall? And does that federal judge enforce the idea that, hey, yeah, drone flyers should be able to fly in their backyard. They should be able to fly here.
There's like two questions which I can kind of answer and not answer, but I'd rather you do it, Brian.
Questions in the chat.
One of them, because we have to value this time here. I love it when you're here, because I learn stuff every day, and every time you're on here, I learn something. But one of the questions is, what is the fine for interrupting a drone pilot, if any, which I do know varies from state to state. And then One Vision Aerial asks, can I contact you all to get info on flying in Illinois? Cops around here are clueless. In other words, he wants is there somewhere he can go to find out this information locally?
Well,
yeah. So let me address the last one first, right? So
yes.
Illinois is a state preemptive state. So that's a good thing. The only city or municipality in the state of Illinois that's allowed to have a drone ordinance is the city of Chicago. That's it. Only the city of Chicago can create and enforce their own drone ordinance. And that's because they already have one. The state legislature was not going to be able to pass the preemption law without having Chicago grandfathered in. So we already have gone through it with the parks and several communities in Illinois to be able to show them, here's a state law, here's why your ordinance is illegal and unenforceable. And we've gone to court with that. We had an individual who flew in a park it was a county park in Cook County, which is the most populous county in Illinois. They were ticketed. We wrote up a motion to dismiss. That case got in front of the judge. Judge looked at the motion to dismiss, asked the prosecutor, hey, do you want to talk about this? Prosecutor rambled on for 10 minutes as to why the ordinance was enforceable. After he got done, he looked back at the defendant, said, do you have anything to add? No, sir. The judge slammed down the gavel. Motion to dismiss is granted. So we already have precedent there to say the Illinois state law is valid. So if you're having trouble with anybody in the state of Illinois, contact me and I'll leave you my contact information. We've probably already worked with those governments, and if we haven't, we're going to add them to the list and go chasing after them.
Ryan, do I have your permission to post your Facebook?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and I have to ask you, of course, because and guys, I don't mean this in a mean way. Add Ryan; he's always posting good information and stuff, but don't hit him up and be like, "Yo, Ryan, what you eating for dinner tonight?" This is I have to say that, man. I have to say that, Ryan. That's why I asked for your permission. But here's his Facebook page. Add him.
Yep.
And if you know of a case or situation, be professional about it. Contact him in a messenger, and he'll get back to you. He's a busy man now. I'm surprised when you post a picture, dude. I'm like, damn, he had time to do that.
I'm always flying.
I know, but when you post pictures, Ryan, when you post a picture and say, "Yo, I was right here, and this looked really nice, and I got a shot." You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. So I value that. When I say Ryan posted a picture, I got to drop what I'm doing because waiting to see if if it's something new or what.
Indeed. Now, what was the first question? I've already forgotten.
Okay, now the first question, hold on, let me go back to it. I think I went back when you were in Illinois. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was wasn't that the question about?
Oh, here it
pilots
is.
having
What is the
trouble?
fine for interrupting a drone pilot, if
Okay.
any?
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that there isn't one. You know, the FAA does have regulations that prevent anybody from distracting a pilot, right? So if you were to, you know, let's say you're in an aircraft, you know, 767, right? And you're going to go up to knock on the pilot door and you're, you know, wanting information, you're harassing them. That is illegal. You will get handcuffed. You know, drag away by authorities after you get on the ground. But in terms of drone operations, the FAA has been fairly specific to say, sorry, we're not enforcing that when we're talking about SUAS. That's a real problem. I think what we do have to do is make sure that the FAA knows our concerns. We can continue to complain about that, because the reality is at some point, you know, if you're taking away the operator's, you know, sense of where the drone is and interrupting their operations, then you're taking away their ability to see and avoid. And we're going to have a mid-air collision with a manned aircraft. That's a real problem.
It's a possibility, yeah. So there's nothing out there that prevents Karen from coming around the corner, looking at her phone with the app,
Nothing
for you, and shoulder block you straight into the ground. Or
and you know, that's a place where, you know, state regulations could take place, right? Because state has land use jurisdictions, so you could potentially have the state step in and say you cannot interrupt somebody who's flying a drone, because you're talking about their operation, they're standing on land, that's land use jurisdiction.
I wish they would make it. I wish they would enforce it and make it public. Unfortunately, Crypto Man, between the planes and remote ID and eVTOLs and the military buying shit and putting it in the air, FAA has their hands full.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, you know, even if the FAA wanted to do a regulation, let's say they're going to create a new one just for drone operators, right? They have to go through the NPRM process, which means, one, they're going to have to put together a committee. The committee's going to have to, you know, figure out how this thing's going to look. Then they're going to propose it. Then it has to have, you know, 60 days of commentary. And then it takes, you know, a year after that to finally get to a final rule. You're talking about a 3 to 5 year process.
Okay, Ryan.
Well, Ryan, at least we'll be here for at least 2 or 3 more live streams.
True.
Yeah.
yeah. Did you think about it? But Ryan, one Visionarial said he did message you. He tried earlier before, so I don't know. I suggest one Visionarial, let him know that you want a live stream tonight and you are one Visionarial and you would like to add him. I think that's the best thing we could do there.
All right.
Okay.
Visionarial, huh?
Yes. So you let them know you're one Visionarial. And hey, flight fanatics, Ryan, I always learn something when you come on, man. It's always interesting, and I'm glad you let us know what was happening with that New York case, because a lot of pilots here in New York don't know that there's actually a pending New York City case going on that's drone related that could right or maybe not right certain things that are happening now. I mean, until you let us, Herman and I, become advocates for New York City. But I keep throwing it in there. That's right. And I've been telling you this. This is going on a couple of years now.
Yep.
right? And now
Yep.
you're in Jersey. So we're the next state over. We're gonna be waiting at the border, dude. Come on over.
There you go.
We'll
Well,
be waiting at the border. Seriously.
you know what's funny about that case with that base? It's not a no-fly zone,
No. And
and that,
and
that
that's the
that was
particular piece,
interesting.
right? Is that I think what has happened here is that Fort Hamilton probably took it under their advisement by whatever general or colonel, what have you, that, oh, we do not allow drones to fly over the base. And so we're going to use our counter UAS to bring that thing down.
And that's what it sounds like happened because I
Yeah.
know plenty of people here in New York that have flown over. I've done it myself. I've gotten some interference in certain parts. Like they do have a veterans hospital, and I know you're supposed to stay away from that area. Okay, but most of the base is down along the Belt Parkway. If you've looked at it on a map, and you see that it is legal airspace.
Well, yeah, it's not only legal airspace. So even if they're saying, hey, you can't fly near the hospital, that's not even true, right? Because it is Class G
But
airspace.
it's you're taught not to do it, so
You're told not to, yeah. But the legalities and
Class G
are
airspace.
completely different. One of the key concerns, right, is that, and when we've talked to base commanders about it, they're under the impression that the FAA has designated all bases across the United States as restricted airspace, that the Department of Defense has labeled them critical infrastructure, and that's
Yeah.
not the case. Very
Yeah.
few are. You can go out to what's called the FAA ArcGIS, and the ArcGIS is the map of all the United States with all the restricted airspace, and you can look at each and every individual base, and you'll be able to find, is this restricted? Is it not restricted? And that's not just talking about controlled airspace. It could still be in Class C, Class B airspace. That's fine, but it's the idea that some bases, even in Class G airspace, are labeled as critical infrastructure and have true do not fly zones over them.
Right.
Hamilton, no,
Doesn't
sorry,
happen.
Class G, completely open.
Yes, a lot of that area, almost all of it. A lot of that section of Brooklyn is all in G airspace.
Yeah.
Actually, from here where I'm at, and south is all G airspace.
All the way to Coney Island,
Straight to Coney Island.
of that,
All of it.
the Verrazano Narrows, all of that
All
is
of
Class G airspace. But for the average drone pilot that just got his drone and is flying along that area, he may run into trouble if he flies over that base and they decide to use their anti-drone tech to bring down their drone, which
Bring
is
them
what
down.
we believe what happened with this individual's drone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what I think happened,
the fact that they have not gotten back to you is better in your case.
It is. I mean, it really shows that they're dragging their heels in particular fashion for a particular reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one, the statute of limitations is only 2 years, so the good chance that they're trying to drag it out that long. Well, FOIA doesn't let them, so that's where they're in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Well, you go ahead, Herman.
Well, I was gotta finish what you were saying.
No, I just wanted to tell you, to make sure we got to get Ryan on those guys so we can get briefed on what's happening and stuff like that. Because if you remember, Ryan, it's been a few years that you've been coming on those guys, bringing us drone news and letting us know what's happening with cases across the United States. And we've
Indeed.
always been a big advocate for endorsing what you do.
Indeed, you guys have, and I appreciate it. I can tell you one of the big cases right now is it's still in the state of Michigan.
Right.
We this last year we sued Ottawa County, and it was the same kind of case that we did with Genesee County earlier, where the guy got arrested for flying a drone and thrown in the back of his cruiser. We won that case. We turned it over to Ottawa County, who doubled down and said, no, we can still write our own ordinances. And so we went to court. We got that to be enjoined, which means there was an injunction put in place. They could not enforce their ordinance. And the county decided that they were going to appeal. So we are now in the appellate court process. We just had amicus brief that was made by the Detroit News organization. That amicus was actually rejected. It was denied by the Court of Appeals as having come too late. So that unfortunately we missed that opportunity, but it did expound upon the idea that there were First Amendment right concerns within the ordinance itself as well. So even if we were to lose, I think the Detroit News comes back and makes another suit to ensure that this gets tossed. Right. But this case will be heard this next year. And in doing that, we're going to need some funding. We anticipate that it's probably going to run anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 to finally get this thing to go through. But once this does, and I'm 99.99999% assured that we are going to win this case. Once that win comes into place, we're going to have a statewide precedent. So it assures that no longer are we going to have to test the statewide preemption. It is going to be true case law that'll be upheld everywhere. So we won't have this whack-a-mole situation, right?
That's actually great, because for every case that you guys win, that means laws are being written, and now you have something to refer to.
Right.
Because the first thing nonsense. Yes, because the first thing a judge does is says, "Is there any other case like this in the United States?"
Yep.
And by you guys winning, I applaud it. Every time that you have a what is that you donate money to? Kickstarter,
little GoFundMe,
GoFundMe. We try to pass that link around and around and around, and I know you see it yourself all over the United States. Drone pilots have contributed towards helping other drone pilots win cases and stuff like that. And once again, I commend you and everyone else for what you guys do. That's why I'm so amped on you finishing up with Jersey and getting over to New York. So
we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah. I mean,
and you're right. You know, when we win in court, what really happens is it's not just these little localities saying, "Oh, we need to pay attention to this." You know, it's state legislatures that get to see and say, "Hey, that worked in Michigan. We're going to do the same thing here." And we can borrow the language from the state of Michigan. We don't even have to, write from scratch. So that makes it easy for us to advocate, because we can say this language has already been tested in court. If it were to be tested in this state, you're going to see the same results. Here's how it works. Put in this language.
Gotcha.
Tony says that ex-FAA employees have donated to fighting these stupid cases, I just wanted to point out specifically, someone had said, well, is there a GoFundMe for Ryan's causes? And I just let them know only pending cases around the United States, which you are involved in. And I wanted to ask you, there was one case you were dealing with where the gentleman would fly his drone from his backyard, and his neighbor was a police officer, and he had a whole...
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the result of that? And if you could just brief them briefly on what was going down with that?
You bet. So with that case, it was in Louisiana. The guy flew over his neighbor's backyard with an Inspire. Mm-hmm. The neighbor saw it, didn't like it, confronted him. He actually did get arrested. The drone is completely legal operation, Class G airspace, and he ended up fighting it. The court case did not go in his favor in the first go around, but the decision was written such that it was clear a conviction could not be made. So we have it on appeal. We know we're going to win that appeal. Everybody, and I thank everybody here. I know you guys had put the GoFundMe out, and ended up we got $12,000 in terms of donations to make it happen. And since we've gotten that and put forward the appeal, guess what? the state of Louisiana has drug its heels. They do not want to give up any information. They're trying to make this span out until it's gone. They know that they're going to lose. And
they figured them funding will run out.
Exactly.
Like most city organizations.
Right.
Yep. And so yeah, now they've realized that, hey, they're toast. And so they've tried all the procedural things. It's, it's one thing, and I've heard it several times over when you're talking about law. Law doesn't happen in a day, right? Law happens over a span of time. So we do have to have patience. But then the other thing is, if you are right, you pound with the law. If you are wrong, you pound with all the circumstances and everything, all the ancillary things.
Yeah.
And that's what the Louisiana state legislature is trying to do.
Right. The things that mean nothing.
Exactly.
One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I know that Lawrence flies FPV, and I think that on our channel, I think I speak more for the FPV guys than he does. But
sometimes, yeah.
The shielded operations, I know a lot of guys look at it, from the standpoint of like, why, what are the things that go on below the trees, and I'm like, what about the things that go on below the level of the buildings? I mean,
so I segment out shielded operations in a couple of different ways, right? Number one is the idea that I should have the ability to fly on my own property at low levels because I have ownership of that, right? Some people mistakenly say, hey, you do not own any of your airspace over your property. That's not true. You do own some of that airspace. The difference is jurisdiction, right?
Yes.
So somebody else can have jurisdiction of it, but you as a property owner still have some ownership. So that's one. When we look at around buildings, right? So if you're down in an urban environment, hey, if I'm going to fly around a skyscraper that's 300 feet tall, well, I should be able to do that because by God, you aren't going to have a Cessna come in that area, right?
Exactly.
Because if you do, everybody's running. It's not a good situation.
I agree. But
I think the third idea of shielded operations is going to be something that people aren't yet kind of in tune with. And that is the idea that you have drones that are going to be given priority over other drones. So even with other aircraft. So think about this. You have a drone that's going to be delivering a heart for a heart transplant. That drone is going to have some priority. So the idea is that there's going to be a superhighway for that particular drone that everybody else has got to move out of the way. And that's regardless of whether you're a helicopter, hot air balloon, Cessna, or another drone.
We did a story similar to that, Ryan, and it did say that certain drones would take precedence over others, just like airplanes and helicopters take precedence over drone pilots, and we're supposed to yield away for a drone delivering a heart or blood or vaccines. That will take presence, and it will be identified through remote ID.
Right.
It will be identified as could get the hell out the way.
Yep.
Well,
Lawrence,
go ahead, I think that was the reason for remote ID. So is that it wasn't for so much for our drones flying in the
I know,
sky.
we're such narcissists. Oh, remote IDs for us.
But to integrate those drones into the sky.
Yes. And in a way, believe it or not, you're already broadcasting. It's just not on a spectrum that's readable by most instruments. Like now in FPV, they're starting to put Bluetooth in the drones. The problem with Bluetooth, it's only good for 50 to 100 feet, depending on the unit. But eventually, as technology trickles down to the lesser drone pilots and not those eVTOLs, we will get technology like that, and you will be given the option. Well, no, you'll be told you have to comply, or if you're not, you're considered rogue.
Trickles down.
But
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
told the
last time
same
something
thing.
trickled down.
But that was also told the same thing with Lance. If you don't comply, you will be considered rogue. And Lance has had over 500,000 successful authorizations. and it's
Right.
working fine.
And what I want to ask you is this: how many flights do you think took place without going through it?
Just
I
as
don't even
many.
want to answer that question.
Just as many.
That's a setup. That's like your wife asking, "Do I look fat in this dress?" That's a setup question.
Sure, you do. Next question.
Aeroscope can bag you, right?
Your Aeroscope can see
It's
DJI
right.
drones.
They actually
Aeroscope can
tested
see more than
Aeroscope,
just DJI.
but they
Can
actually
they?
tested
Yeah.
Aeroscope here in New
Okay.
York several
Because I know
times.
there were different devices that can see different drones. I thought the DJI created Aeroscope for just their drones.
Well, that's how it started, but yeah, it can see signals of any remote signal. So
Yes,
even
anything
with
broadcasting.
FPV, right? I think a lot of people are of the assumption, hey, you can't see it because it's too
Mhm.
small or whatever.
Mhm.
No, if we pull you up on aerial armor or Aeroscope, yeah, we can see it.
Yes, well, I just wanted to point out they did test Aeroscope here in New York City several times post COVID, and we did a story on it. How one summer night, when drones are buzzing at night, how many drones they saw entering illegal airspace and exiting and taking off and doing erratic stuff, and they didn't go. They took logistics.
Mhm.
They took logistics, and this is important because Aeroscope and what other devices they have out there, they're not there to catch me or you, Herman. They're out there to catch that asshole
Really?
that was flying over Yankee Stadium last week. You understand? They're out there to catch that guy
How do I know it
that's
wasn't
that's
you?
buzzing the tourist at the Statue of Liberty.
How do I know it wasn't you?
How do you know it wasn't me? I can't afford that good shit to fly that far.
I think the other piece that folks have to understand, even when we're talking about idiots flying over the stadium or buzzing folks at Statue of Liberty, look at the safety of the drones, right? We haven't had fatalities. We haven't had a fatality since 2013,
Ryan,
right?
it's funny you say that. I was
In
talking
drones?
with my boss today, and he's like, "Yo, 6, 7
Captain.
years ago when you started with this drone stuff, I didn't believe you would still be in it." And he's like, "How many of y'all out there?" And I said, "Honestly, I could say just off the top of my head, easily in the 5 boroughs of New York City. We're not talking the rest of New York City. I can guarantee there's at least 5,000 plus pilots." And I said, "You want to know what? You have never heard of anyone hitting a skyscraper in New York. And when you hear about it, 9 times out of 10, it's a tourist that heard you could not fly in New York City. And oh, wow, they're flying drones." And they run to when the DJI store was in New York post COVID, tourists used to go to that store, buy a drone, fly it, and then return it before they left.
Mm.
Go ahead, Herman.
Only one guy was actually from here. The guy
Yes.
that the
The
he
Staten
whizzed
Island
past.
one. The
No,
Staten
no, no,
Island.
no, no, no. The
Oh.
guy who whizzed past the police helicopter in Manhattan.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But and I pointed out to my boss, I said, "Look, this tourist came to New York believing that you could not fly here, and when he found out you could fly here, he went through a 55-story window."
Mhm.
Okay, now when he did it on a Saturday, and the news article goes on to say that when he went in, he was respectable to the office building to pay for the window and collect the drone. They arrested him on the spot. So, and my boss is like, "You mean to tell me there's that many things in the air?" I said, "If you just sat in Brooklyn and just stared at the sky for a while, I'm sure you would see something going flying by."
You know what
But,
scares me now?
huh?
Balloons.
Yes, yes, Ryan. You hear a balloons in the air, start
I see
panicking, bro.
because I see sometimes I'll have the drone up and I know where the drone is. And I see it, and then I see balloons floating in the air. I'm like, oh damn, I gotta bring it back, bring it down, because I don't
Yeah.
want those balloons to get, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they did pass an ordinance in New York that it is illegal to
And the
release
only
balloons, unfortunately,
and the
but
only
they
ones
do
that
it
know
at
about that is
they do it at
us.
funerals and memorials all the time. But there is an ordinance that if they were to enforce, like the lanterns, the
Yep.
Japanese
Sky
lanterns,
lanterns.
they look beautiful in the air. They're
Mhm.
seen as UFOs, but it is illegal in New York to do that. But
Yeah.
they don't enforce it.
Once again, it's not so much about the enforcement, but it's more so about the education of it. How many people release balloons and these things and they don't know this?
Yeah, they don't understand the dangers.
They don't know this. They just do it, and it's done every day. It's done every year.
But
No one knows that.
you go back to that idea too of drones and think about the number of accidents. So we're talking about, somebody hit a skyscraper and blew out a window and was willing to pay for it, and yet they got arrested. How
Yes.
many helicopters have crashed in the or in the city of New York in the last year? And how many fatalities off of those crashes,
Mhm.
right? And that's just helicopters. Now you got to extend it to other manned aircraft. And yet we don't have any fatalities with drones. And you
Ryan,
do have
Right.
people flying
Ryan,
around in places they're not supposed to. Yet,
the,
we have a safety mechanism in terms of the drones.
the
They're the
East
safest
River,
vehicles in the sky.
but the East River, where we fly from Queens and Brooklyn to get views of Manhattan, etc., seaplanes, helicopters, police boats, police helicopters, tourist helicopters, business helicopters. There's so much stuff flying around that we've seen literally, Ryan, a seaplane come in over one bridge, land, and 20 minutes to a half hour later take off and fly over another bridge or fly under that bridge and take off. And you don't hear of any incidents because we try to be as diligent as we can here, and I'm speaking for the better half of the drone community in New York City, five borough area. And if it was that rampant and that dangerous, you would hear of so much stuff happening in the city, but you don't.
Well, you see, I think with a lot of drone pilots, I think there's more so fear than to look to interrupt. Than the need to interrupt what's going on. You talk about with these helicopters and stuff like that. You've gone to meetups where a lot of the pilots, guys who may own a drone, but they never really fly the drone. They may have took it on vacation with them once, went straight up about 60 feet, out about 30 feet, took a couple of pictures with it. That was it. Maybe did that twice. They own a drone. Then they found other guys that fly. And they come to these meetups and they see other guys doing things, and they would never think to do those things. Now there's nothing wrong with what they're doing, but some of these other guys, just their mentality is to never interrupt anything. So I think that most guys are gonna fly and drone
Herman,
guys that are out the guys doing.
okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one of
What
the
was that?
interesting.
You had skipped out for a second, and now you're back.
Oh,
You max headroom for a second, and you're back.
I think one of the
Someone
interesting aspects.
Someone had
nothing.
mentioned that, and corrections, I did mention, someone had asked, didn't someone hit one of the World Trade Center buildings? There was and I said no, thinking that he was talking about the Freedom Tower. I'd like to reiterate on that. It was Building 7 around the World Trade Center that a tourist did hit. And it was actually, he was orbiting a statue and hit the building, if I remember the story right,
outside the front.
it was maybe
We did a story on it.
5 or 6 stories up. But the statue that he was
orbiting a fountain.
Ryan, the statue that he was orbiting, a jet plane could have orbited better than he was doing, because he was there when he hit the building. I just wanted to correct that.
It was a small spot. It was a little fountain or something in front of one of the building.
Yes, but he did hit it, and it did land on the ledge. I remember that.
It wasn't a big that wasn't any real serious damage.
Is Ryan ever able to recoup costs for these defense suits? I don't know if you want. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. We do have a censor button.
I have never taken money for any. So
and I would
it's
like
it's my personal time and effort and money that's going into it. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because for those who don't know, Ryan is the drone advocate for New York City. I did ask him permission to
Mhm.
post his Facebook. If you know someone who's in trouble and is drone related, Ryan is the man to contact. I'm gonna post it one more time before we end or leave the stream, Ryan. Don't
Well, like I said,
contact him and ask him what he's eating for dinner on Sunday night, please.
yeah, like even though, like I said in the beginning of the stream, that this gentleman is your best friend in the community. He
Yes.
is the community's best friend, and you will like to get to know who he is. And listen out for any time you see him on any other stream. And
Yes, you get on, you go on Ken Herons, you do
right,
travel
I
the
do get
internet
on a
absolutely.
few.
circuit. The internet
Yeah.
circuit.
You know, and
You do travel.
guys, keep one thing in mind when they
Do the
have
courts
these
ever want
different
you cost?
cases and they do create these GoFundMe's,
Yes.
and guys do, contribute to the GoFundMe's. A win for one guy is a win for us all.
Right, because
Absolutely.
laws are being written. As Ryan and his company wins these cases, these laws are being written down, and that means a judge here in New York City will have a law in Michigan, Louisiana, and these places to refer to. They may say, okay, the one in Louisiana is pending, but the one in Michigan, they won. Hey, we may need to rethink our thinking
Right.
now.
And the more states that get, gobbled up by that, preemption clause, like you were talking, you know, is like I said, it's better for us all.
Yeah.
A win for one is a win for us all.
And the
Yeah.
other piece with these wins is that your lawyers have to be a part of the bar in that particular state. They have to be licensed to
Yes,
practice in
yes.
that state. So what they do is those lawyers that we have to grab locally, right? They need some reference points. And so any cases that we've won in Michigan or Illinois, what have you, we can share that out to say, here's the position that we took. Here's, the legal precedents that we saw both in the federal statutes and in the state statutes. Let's help you translate that in terms of your particular state. And that's been very successful.
Well,
That's
I'm
good.
I'm
That's
starting
good.
to think now that Ryan, we're gonna have to put you on some kind of like every 3 month schedule just to touch base with you, because
You bet.
every time you come on, you let us know what's happening, not only locally but across the United States, and you are well abreast of what's going on. I almost ran out of questions to ask you, but that would go into another live stream.
Oh, well, I mean, there's 101 questions
You
you can
know,
come up with.
because I'm like a sponge, and a lot of people, they say I have teaching syndrome. It's because I learn stuff and I don't mind sharing it. Like somebody may ask me how to get to the store down the block, and I'd be like, well, if you cut through
Don't do
this way
that.
and make a
Don't do
left,
that.
you
You'll be on another block somewhere asking him directions.
I'm not good at directions, but I'm a great listener.
There you
Okay.
go.
And once I got the information, I can't go wrong.
There you go.
Oh, Recovery
Let's
One,
just
Draymond, you're
straight
gonna have to
ahead.
watch this live stream over, dude. There's a lot of information. Draymond is a 107 pilot from the
Yes,
California area.
he's doing
He's
big things in San
doing
Bernardino.
things over there in California. Very respected gentleman, very serious in the drone community. He does his thing. Plus, he just got an M30, a T30.
Yeah, Draymond's doing a lot of big things for I think for the city and the county of San Bernardino.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
with the work that he does, and he works with his drones, and he's like Lauren said, he just added the MT the M30 T
Yes.
to his tool belt. I hope you're enjoying that one, Draymond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a couple other things that we wanted to discuss, wasn't it, Lawrence? Because just about got through everything that I wanted to
Well, let me
speak on.
start. You talked about education, and let me
Yeah,
tell you one of the things that you can do, each and every person can do right now
Mhm.
today.
Everyone in the chat we're talking to.
There
Right.
you go. The the concept of education is so important when we're talking about advocacy, because we have a group of young people that are just coming in that have not yet experienced a drone, or maybe have kind of had a little toy drone that they got for Christmas and broke after 2 flights, right? This is an opportunity that you can take to engage with the local school district. We've got schools that are going to be starting up here shortly. Go out to a Boy Scout meeting, a Girl Scout meeting, ask them, hey, can I introduce your kids to drones and how they work, what the regulations are around them. Get those kids excited about flying,
Yes.
have them look over your screen, have them take, some control
I
of
do
the
it
drone
all the
with
time.
you right there. And so the more we do that, the more folks we're bringing on board. And if you bring those young kids on board, mom and dad have to come with them, right? So you expand this community out. And as we do that, you're thinking about, these are the leaders of our future. They're going to be the ones that write those drone laws coming up in 10, 20 years.
And they're going to look at these laws that you help create.
Right.
We
have to leave a legacy. That's what it's about.
Yes, you're right.
You're right. So totally. I'm just like I told you in our emails, like, we're still here in New York. We're ready to fight the good fight for the community, and whenever you're ready to head this way, we're here to help out with that. Lawrence, you got any other questions or anything else?
No,
because
my plate is full. My belly's full. My brain is full. This was a very enjoyable stream, man, because I enjoy your present. I have just one question. When the hell are you coming to New York?
I got to do that sometime soon, don't I?
Yeah.
At some time and point, you have to come to New York, and we must break bread. I'm not to hell with flying. That's a given. but just to break bread, seriously.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that each year we've had a drone conference in New York City. The last couple of years with COVID, that's been virtual. I wouldn't be surprised if that's in person, either this year or next year. And that's usually in the November timeframe. So I'm hopeful that I get invited back for that, and I would definitely reach out to you and we'll connect. And I do want to start building things in New York City and getting the New York legislature to really look at putting in.
Don't even mention legislature. You're gonna get me started again. Can you give us 1 second? Herman has something he needs to do real quick. And we're gonna use you.
T-shirt
from Air Peak, Sony Air.
I went to a Air Peaks event, and they gave these out to the pilots that showed up at the event. So I'm going to give this to one of the viewers in the chat. What's the best way to do it? We're going to do it with the way
I want Ryan in the chat, in the Zoom chat, to give him a number. Give him 2 numbers between. Let Ryan put in the chat that number, and the first one that comes up with the number.
So here's the deal, Ryan. I guess we have 31 people watching, right?
I'm looking at our chat. Yes.
Right. We got 31 people watching, right?
All right.
So we got to come up with a number between 1 and what we say, like 100.
Go for it. No, limit it down. 1 in 75.
Okay, 1 in 75.
All right, put it in the chat, Ryan. I'll see the number, and then I'll start watching the chat. Nothing you put counts until I say go.
Not yet, guys. Not until Lawrence gets the number.
Ryan, you go ahead, Ryan. We have to keep him on a short leash, Ryan.
I got you.
Nothing counts until I say go. So you.
All right, I threw the number in there.
I have the number right here. Herman, you see the number? Starting now. Go. And we will see if that number comes up. I have not seen it yet. Keep going, you guys. Keep going. Just sometimes, Ryan, that they go squirrel. This
is like the Mega Millions.
Yes.
It's just not a million or $1 billion, right?
Marcel, 420 doesn't count. Come on, guys. We'll be here. This is a great way to end the stream. You get some Air Peak gear. Oh, someone was close. Hold on. Nope, not yet. Oh, someone's even closer. They're getting there. As soon as I see it, it will end. I'm pretty good with this on the speed reading here. Keep going. And Marcel says he's blocked. No, you're not. Oh, damn. Somebody just missed it. Hold on. Still. Haven't seen it. They're trying. They're going crazy, bro. Luckily, I can speed read. Oh, damn. Hold it. Nope. Nope. Not yet. They're just bouncing around it back and forth, though. Hold on. Hold on. Nope. Come on, guys. 666 Marcel, stop it. Got it. Stop. 107 drones, number 46. Got
Okay.
it.
Dun, da, da.
107 drones. Congratulations. You have to go to Herman's YouTube channel. In the About Me section, there's an email. Send him congratulations, 107 drones. There's an email that you can send him your address and he will get it out to you. Congratulations.
Just send me the
to
address
107
where to
drones.
send it to you.
Yes, congratulations, man.
Congratulations to you.
Awesome stuff.
Marcel, 46 was said already. Nice try. These guys are funny, Ryan. Listen.
We will have some of these coming in, though.
Oh, yes. For those who can't stand the gimbal
That
guard,
gimbal guard on the
Mini 3.
On Mini 3,
yeah.
Yeah, that gimbal guard is horrible.
Everyone's complaining about it. Ryan, I want to tell you thanks. Is there anything you want to let people know? Anything you want to say?
I would just say, if you have an issue with somebody, you hear about a ordinance that's being stood up that you aren't sure of, reach out and we're going to see what we can do.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you.
Definitely.
I can't say thank you enough, to come on and help the community get a better understanding of where we're going, what's going on with this remote ID, not to worry so much about it. It'll take time. Everything will take time, and eventually they'll figure out something. Hopefully they don't lean on their friends in Congress to just lay the smack down regardless of whatever the courts say.
Yep.
I want to say thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you more than ever. And I'm waiting at the Jersey border, dude.
There you go.
For New York State legislature, you bring the laws and what needs to be done. If I got to sit in City Hall for 8 hours, man, I'm down.
Sounds like a plan. We'll get
serious,
there,
man.
As long as it's not sitting in central booking for
either that, yeah, right. What happened to Lawrence? Well, he was trying to file a petition and
trying to prove a point.
Yeah. He went squirrel. No. We appreciate you, Ryan. Seriously, man.
Indeed, and thanks for having me on. I much appreciate that.
And there aren't
Thank you.
There are not a whole lot of drone pilots across the United States that I have their personal phone number. And it was a good thing because when you got hacked, I was like, "Yo, Ryan, go check your shit out."
There you go.
So it was well worth it. And we appreciate you, man.
Is anyone else in the chat that might have anything they want to ask before we get out of here?
Yeah, anything you want to ask Ryan, because he's on his 3-month tour with those guys, and who knows what'll be going on by the next time we see him.
Anybody? Okay, so
and everyone enjoyed the stream, man.
Perfect.
Right. Thank you.
We'll take it.
It was
Tony, that's not your number, 876-5309. Stop it. What a song, dude. Ryan, keep in touch. Definitely keep in touch with us, and we're going to keep in touch with you, because once you're finished with New Jersey, how is that going before we get out of here? How is that going so far?
I think that's going to be fantastic.
For people that want to know what I'm talking about.
Yep. So the court date got pushed back to next month. So at the end of next month, we'll have that court date, and I'm 100% confident we're going to win that one.
And you're doing this for the main purpose of that you're doing this is
with the gentleman at the.
This is a gentleman that was flying at the MetLife Stadium, and we're going to prove that the New Jersey state preemption clause is valid and oversees and overrules any local jurisdiction.
Okay, that's good because they didn't confiscate any of his equipment like they did in
No.
Fort Hamilton. Okay.
No.
All right,
Good.
cool.
All right. You know, who else is on tonight, Lawrence? We got a
Yes,
couple
we
people on
have
tonight. Johnny and them are
Johnny
on
Drone
tonight, right?
Flyer, Johnny Drone Flyer, and Ray Kelly. They're coming on in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
And
we
I don't know how you leave live streams, but if you have a saying or anything, like I end mine with "Be safe, fly safer." You got anything you want to say, Ryan, before we get out of here?
I will just say see you later because I will be back. How's that?
Okay.
That works good.
So you guys, I thank you tonight. It was a fantastic conversation. I look forward to seeing everybody's help in terms of getting things moving, and eventually we're going to have New York in our pocket, right?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. We have a lot of guys here that's ready to fight for it. So
there you go. All right, I will leave you. Take care.
Thank you, Ryan.
Later, Ryan. Thank you again, man.
Thank you.
Well, I must say that was a damn good live
conversation. Very enlightening conversation.
I appreciate it, and for all of you who came to support us, we appreciate you.
Yes,
we try to keep you guys coming back. That's all it's about.
Yeah, we really appreciate you all for coming and hanging out with us, you know. And I wanted to have Ryan on because I wanted to give him a larger time to speak and speak to everyone and let everyone know what was going on. And, you know, so is that because a lot of times, and I say it here on the stream all the time, you know, if you want something to get spread it as a rumor. And rumors seem to spread a lot, you know. So I wanted a gentleman who was well versed in the law to come on here and let you know what was real and what's not, and so you can understand where we're going and what's going on and what we're dealing with out there and what we're about to face. So and to let you know what's going on with, you know, things going on maybe even in your own state. You know, maybe may time become where you have to step up and help fight for your state and getting those preemptive laws settled. So, you know, that's why I brought him on, so is that we can all, you know what's going on. And with that, I guess it's time for us to get out of here, right, Lawrence?
Yes, man. Yes. You know, and don't forget to check out my live stream this Sunday.
I just want to say one other thing. I'm going to be, I'll let you guys know exactly where I'm going to be, what area I'm going to be in. But in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Virginia. If anybody is in Virginia, you know, you got a spot to fly.
Okay.
Maybe I'm close to you. We can hook up with something and fly. I'm going to bring a drone or two, maybe three. I'll leave some clothes home and bring another drone or something. I don't know. But I'll be out there in Virginia. And I will have a drone. Drone will travel. So if anybody can, you know, hook up and fly, let me know. I'll let you know on I guess Sunday. I'll let you know where I'm going to be at, what area. You know. So I guess with that, what we say, Lawrence? Word from us.
That be safe, fly safer. Thank you for the support.
Wednesday night with those guys is sponsored by those guys. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.